Hello, and welcome to the Pastor's Preview. I'm Pastor Brett Cornelius of Gethsemane Lutheran Church in Marion, Ohio, previewing the upcoming weekend at Gethsemane. This weekend is Easter Sunday. It's the resurrection of our Lord. We are now in the middle of Holy Week. Last Sunday was Palm Sunday, the beginning of Holy Week, our Lord's triumphal entry into Jerusalem. Last night we had our Maundy Thursday service, which we remembered the institution of the Lord's Supper and this new commandment that Jesus gives to us. He says, love one another. By this you will know, the world will know you're my disciples if you have love for one another. And so we call that Christ mandate. So Maundy Thursday. Today at noon we celebrated our Good Friday Chief service with communion. We read the Passion of St. John, chapters 19 and 20 in the Gospel, chapters 18 and 19 in the Gospel of John, and we celebrated the Lord's Supper. Now tonight, we're going to have a devotional service, not really a service of the church. It's a devotional service called a Tenebrae service, in which we remember the 7 last words of Christ. And as we read the words of Jesus from the cross, the church gets progressively darker. We begin the readings with 7 candles on our altar. And as the 7 words of Christ are said, each candle is put out. It's a darkening service. It's a very moving service as we hear the words of Jesus, and as we hear the words of Jesus not only from the Gospels, but from the Psalms. It reminds us that our Lord speaks to us not just in the Gospels and the words of read, but throughout the Scriptures, and especially in the Psalms. Jesus is the psalmist, speaking through David. David is speaking in the Spirit of Christ. So when we read the Psalms, and as we read the Psalms tonight, you're going to see that these are Jesus' words. My God, why have you forsaken me? One of those sayings of Jesus from the cross. It comes from Psalm 22. It's a very moving service. We hope you can come to that. Now, tomorrow night is our Easter Vigil service. The Easter Vigil service begins in the dark, and the church becomes progressively lighter as we have these readings from the Old Testament, which remind us of God's redemption. We have the crossing of the Red Sea. We have the Valley of Dry Bones from Ezekiel. We have God rescuing Jonah from the whale. Rescuing the 3 young men in Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego from the flames of Nebuchadnezzar's furnace. So there's many different readings that we rehearse, and we make the Easter proclamation at the end of the service. We have the Lord's Supper again. And then, of course, Easter Sunday, which is dedicated to the resurrection of our Lord, but especially to the Gospel of Mark, in this, the first 8 verses of chapter 16 in the Gospel of Mark, where we just see the fact of the empty tomb, and we hear the angel's proclamation to the women who came to anoint Jesus' body, but discovered that he is not here. He is risen, just as he told you. And so we have this wonderful good news that comes to us in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 16, which we will be learning about, learning what it means to us for the next 8 weeks as we are in the Easter season. So there are some interesting services. Tonight's service, the Tenebrae service, is at 8:30 p.m. Tomorrow, 8 o'clock p.m. tonight, the service begins. Tomorrow night's service, the Easter Vigil service, begins at 8:30 and ends about 10. And then Sunday morning we have a breakfast here at Gethsemane at 9 o'clock. Eggs and bacon and a lot of fun things. So we hope you'll join us for breakfast. And then for the service afterwards at 10:30. Gethsemane Lutheran Church, we have good news for you.